0, 1. Let's get started.
Can you believe it? We've actually landed a big fish in the trade market. And it's cost us no draft picks. It's a 7-year deal or 6-year deal for between $800,000 and $850,000 per season. Harry Perryman, welcome to Collingwood. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to another episode of the Black and White Show. I'm your host, Andreas, and let's just get straight to it. So, Harry Perryman to the Pies. It's a done deal. We've been able to secure him and lose virtually nothing in all of this, which is fantastic considering that we have very little draft capital. So, the club is working their magic in filling in the holes that we need. I do believe that Perryman will probably be a midfielder. He did play halfback for GWS this season, but I think he's going straight into the midfield and he's going to be that in and under player that does all the dirty work. Very similar to what a Luke Ball was in 10, 11 and 12, like obviously when he didn't do his knee, but when he was basically, when we were fighting for those premierships in 10 and 11, I think he's going to have the same role. Very similar to what Taylor Adams had in, those, from like 2015 to 2018 when Taylor Adams was in the middle getting the handball out, the in and under packs of what he was specialising in. I think this is what Harry Perryman is going to bring to Collingwood. He's going to be a crash impact player in the middle and he's going to do the dirty work and he's going to hand pass it out and you're going to have players like the Dacos boys. Ed Allen now is going to be in that mix. The halfback players like Q, Darcy Moore are just going to be streaming past him. And he's also a player which, what I've seen of the highlights, loves to get the ball and is very attacking, which is what we need. Also, he's got the experience of playing in the halfback. What I think this means, though, the fact that he's now at Collingwood, I do believe that someone like a Scott Pendlebury coming towards the end of his career is going to be playing a role very similar to what Beau McCreary did this year. So if you notice what Beau McCreary did, he'd play on like the half forward or half back or whatever he was playing, mostly half forward. But he'd come into the middle in the stoppages and he'd be like that extra fifth midfielder. I think that's what Pendles might be doing now off the half back line. And Dacos will be a permanent midfield and you've got Harry Perryman in there. This does, however, create a big clusterfuck in our list when it comes to Tom Mitchell. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. I said this in a previous video when we were talking about potentially picking up Matt Kennedy. The fact that we've got Perryman now, any rumours that are going out about Collingwood getting Matt Kennedy are completely and utterly wrong and false. I don't think it's going to happen. And if it does, I would be absolutely shocked the Pies will have 3 players in their list who can basically play the same role. That's just a waste of money, okay? Even if you're getting them for free with no draft picks or whatever, it's just a waste of money to have on your list. Perryman is now going to be there for 6 years. He's 26 now by the time the end of the year happens, which means he'd be 32, 33 when this contract finishes, which pretty much means you're a Pie for life. No matter what happens, your boyhood love for the Collingwood Football Club was always going to win. Port Adelaide didn't stand a chance. As soon as Collingwood came knocking, he would have come. As a Collingwood supporter, if you've got the privilege of playing AFL and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you can decide who you want to play for and one of those clubs is your boyhood club that you love, you will always choose that club. So we were going to get him. Now, what happens with the Tom Mitchell scenario? I think Tom Mitchell is going to spend half the season or 3/4 of the season potentially in the twos. We need to find a new spot for him. He can bail it out for this midfield, for the in and under midfield, but if he comes into this season underdone or still with an injury cloud over him and doesn't hit it running, I can't see him breaking into the team unless we go through a catastrophic period of injuries. I think that Tom Mitchell and someone like an Oleg Markov are going to be 2 players that are going to be knocking on the door, but they're not going to be able to get into the team as much as what they would have. Sad to see because they're premiership players, but this is the problem that we need to have. This is the problem that we had in 2010 when we had a gun forward line and players as someone like Paul Medhurst missed out. We had a really good midfield. Tarkin Lockyer, Shane O'Brien, they couldn't get into the team, right? And they were veterans. They were people that carried the team through the absolute shit period of our football club, right? They put us there, and then the wave of the Pendleburys, the side bottoms, the Didacts, the Cloaks and stuff took us to the top of and Maxwell took us to the top of the mountain. Those boys saw the next one in there, and it's so weird that you've still got Pendles and Sidey in there, which is awesome. But these new guys are coming through, and McRae's like that whole thing on SEN, and Kane Corns like I love Kane Corns as much as people won't like me saying that. I think a lot of the stuff he says is spot on. It's the hard truth most of the time. I don't agree with what he's saying, though, in regards to, and this is probably because I'm also a little bit biased, the whole thing about McRae saying, I don't want players, I want picks, I want for the now. I think people need to understand we've got a lot of young kids at this football club. We've got a lot of young talent already at this football club that can't get a game. And we are heavily stocked up. You've got McGuinness, you've got McRae, you've got Ryan, you've got other players. You've got like Oscar Steen, for example. You've got Big Roo now coming. You've got these players that are going to be knocking down the door. Kruger, right? Ash Johnson is trying. I don't know what's going to happen there. But like these guys are dying for a spot. It's got to translate in our twos, I think, more than anything. Like they've got to perform there because we've been pretty fucking shit in the VFL for the last couple of seasons. But you know, we've got these players now who are screaming. We've got a really good list. Perryman fills that spot perfectly. Now, if you really want to know more about him, go watch the highlights of him. A lot of his highlights are from the half-back line this season, but so some of the stuff that he does, you think to yourself, fuck, this is exactly what we need, especially around the packs when he's on the ground. This is what we need, that handball to feed it back to a quarterback who can get the ball and go bang, go long. Imagine like a big pack of players coming in, right? Dacos running on the outside. He can't give it to him because he's got a player there, bang, flicks it over. Moore's waiting at the back of the pack. He's done all the dirty work, bang, lace it out to a half forward. Hoskin Elliott marked him. You can just see it all pan out, right? Because we've got that missing link that we didn't have. We had other players trying to play that inside midfielder role, Degoe, and he got hurt so much. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Degoe go back to a little bit more of a forward line role next year. But that's a whole video in itself. Anyway, back to the whole Perryman side of things. Now, there was a couple of stats that I was looking at, and I was reading up on a few things yesterday and today, but his disposal efficiency this season that's just passed was running at 76%. Put that into perspective, Nick Dacos was running at 67%. So already you're thinking, fuck, he can hit a target now, which is exactly what we wanted because, fuck, some of our disposals this season were really shit. Now turnovers, especially like, you know, the games that we should have won, like that Sydney game away, like just some of the turnovers and the rebounds and those bullshit goals, even in our premiership season. I mean, that last game against Geelong, we won by 9 points. I mean, they kicked 3 or 4 goals. Like Stengel and Cameron took the fucking piss just by kicking it over the top. And then there was like 3 or 4 there on their own. They got us on the rebound. You know, we've now got a missing link in Perryman. So it's expensive. But hey, you want to win flags, you've got to do it. I don't agree with what Kane Corn said about, you know, the Pies are going to go through a really shit period, basically, he said later on, because it's the same as what Hawthorn did when they got O'Meara and all that type of shit. It's totally different. Hawthorn will finish that era then, and they were just fucking picking players to try and keep them alive. And they still finished top 4 in one of those seasons. I think it was 2018 they may have finished 4th, or 2020 or something. They may have finished 4th. Correct me if I'm wrong. Someone drop it in the comments. But, you know, so there's all these options that we've got now because we've filled that hole. It puts a lot of pressure on players like McRae and McGuinness and all that type of stuff to keep on. Anybody that wants to run through the midfield, God knows what's going to happen now with Joe Richards. Even though we've offered him a contract, Port Adelaide might be pissed off and they'll be like, fuck this, we want him off Collingwood. Difference is Collingwood's in control now. We're the ones that have got the player, not the ones who are trying to get the player. Anyway, so, look, he's now going to be a Pie for life. So he's part of the Collingwood fraternity. He's part of the Collingwood family now. So I'm hoping that this is the right pick that what we get. This pick now impacts everything. Who knows? I could be recording this and all of a sudden there's shit fucking going out here everywhere on trade radio, blah, 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 because one piece of the puzzle and one of the most important pieces of the puzzle has fallen that way, right? There's a few other things that have broken out today, which I'll get to really quickly, but this is what we're really concentrating on. Anyway, I just wanted to throw it out there too. I've saw a whole list of, just off topic, going on to something different. I've seen a list of players that like clubs like Geelong and stuff like that have delisted. Now, they've delisted two guys in particular, and I just want to throw it out there and I want people to comment on it. It might be worth a whole video in itself, but I just want to put it out there. Geelong have delisted a player by the name of Gary Rowan. I believe the fact that we didn't go for someone like a Jake Stringer, getting someone in who's been delisted from another club is perfect. I mean, I still think Matt Taberner will be like a really awesome forward line like option. Getting someone like Gary Rowan into the team, you could pick him up for 400 or 500 grand, if that, 1 to 2 years, maybe even less money, right? Because he's been delisted, so it's like whatever. If you want to come and play for us, this is what we're offering. Take it or leave it. It's better than no money. So let's just say he was interested and we offered him that, right? He could be, I believe, a perfect impact player. Might not play every single game, right? But can come into, you know, if the sub rule stays, imagine having him come on as a sub. We all saw what he did to us in the 22 qualifying final when just that last minute he turned into fucking Wayne Carey and basically put him into the prelim. And I believe that play that he did won them that grand final, right? I would love for him to come to Collingwood for 2 years and just be an impact player, not play every game, but just imagine him just crushing the pack, making it like just an impact. I can't believe, yeah, all right, he got heavily injured. He is a little bit injury prone here and there, but that's why you're paying peanuts. We're not losing anything from it. I think if McRae's really, if he's adamant that he wants players to make an impact and he wants players to make us better, Gary Rowan on a 2-year deal for next to fuck all is a perfect player to come into the side. Especially if we get stuffed with like injuries and all that type of shit, he could be just a perfect player to slot in there and to do his role. That's just my opinion. I'd love people to comment and see what they think. There's the Parfit as well is the other one. Now, I don't know if Parfit is the right fit, excuse the pun or whatever it is, for us. I think there's too many other like small running players like that. I mean, we're looking at potentially getting rid of Joe Richards. Why would you like want to get Parfit? You know, I don't know. Parfit was just a, you know, he was the sub in the 22 grand final, I'm pretty sure, and he was just a passenger. I don't really think he's a player that can come into the game and like destroy it, so to speak. When he first started, I actually thought he was a decent player, but I mean, like, I would love to have Gary Rowan in the side. Anyway, that's just my opinion. We landed a big fish finally. I think this is going to control a lot of other trades now. A lot of other deals are going to get done because this has fallen into place. And this is a big watch on what Port Adelaide do now with Dan Houston. If they turn around and say, we didn't get the one that we wanted, Houston, you've got to stay for another year. It's all up in the air at the moment, but I think Port are now going to be very, very tight on what they do. And this is the perfect opportunity for a club like North Melbourne to come in and snag him. And fuck, I hope they do before Carlton does, and then they decide to come to the party with something acceptable, because he'll probably go there. Anyway, that's all I've got for now, but we landed a big fish. Tell me what you think about potentially getting someone like Gary Rowan in the side. Call it as you see it. Drop a comment and go the fucking Pies. We've got a big fish. Come on.